Here are 4 NBA mysteries that I've been dying to solve. Now, you might think that Dirk Nowitzki heading back to the locker room after a game doesn't really need any solving. I mean, what is there to solve? But when you consider the fact that it was immediately following the Mavericks winning their first ever championship in franchise history, it was kind of viewed as odd behavior. You see, we've come to expect players to react a certain way after winning the title, so that's why it kinda caught people off guard when Dirk suddenly disappeared from the scene. I actually remember being confused myself, because I expected Dirk to go wild, and for the longest time it remained a mystery in my head until I finally took it upon myself to search for answers. And honestly, it's pretty much what I expected. He just wanted a moment to himself.
The emotions of Dirk Nowitzki, what he's always dreamed of, hoping to have another chance after the bitter loss in 2006.
Dirk actually gave an interview to clear the air, and here's what he had to say. Quote, "So I'm on the court and I'm hugging my teammates and I'm completely bawling and I couldn't stop myself. So that's why I was like, I don't want to stand out here and hug everybody and completely be a mess. So I decided to run off and get a few minutes by myself. 2 people ran behind Dirk to try to bring him back to the court. One was the senior vice president of basketball communications, Tim Frank, and the other was the Mavericks vice president of basketball communications, Scott Tomlin." Dirk continued by saying, "Scooter and Tim were like, you've got to come out here. They're about to present you with the MVP. I remember saying, I don't want it. Give it to someone else. I need to be here. I need to be by myself. I think they were like, fine, we'll give you a few minutes, but I remember Scooter telling me, trust me, when you lift the trophy, that is a photo that you want for the rest of your life. You don't want to miss this." They were trying to talk some sense into me, and I'm in this emotional state. Fortunately, he was able to recover and celebrate with his teammates. I'm sure we can all agree that 2 of the most famous memes featuring NBA players are no doubt the Jordan crying meme and confused Nick Young. Both are insanely iconic. I would imagine that most people are aware of the origin of the Michael Jordan one. I mean, it's pretty obvious where that came from, but I would argue that very few know the story behind the Nick Young one. The meme originated in a 2014 video by YouTuber and photographer Cassie Athena, who asked Young if she could do a day in the life of him, which he agreed.
The mastermind behind the meme was Cassie Athena, a photographer who was working on a YouTube series called Through the Lens in 2014 when she asked to document a day in the life of Nick Young.
Then, midway through the video, it happened.
When I was watching the episode, I was like, where can I add like funny little expressions? And throughout that whole video, there's a bunch of them. But that one moment in particular, I just thought Nick's face looked so funny. And I said, I'm gonna pause the video and I'm gonna add question marks.
But then something completely unexpected happened. It went absolutely viral. Even people who didn't follow the NBA at least knew who Nick Young was because of the meme.
Some people don't even know I play basketball. They're just like, ain't you that meme guy? I use your meme all the time. Can I take a picture? Can you do the face? Made a life of his own, really.
Now, what exactly caused him to make that face?
If that boy ever take it serious, he'd be great. But he was a clown then.
I didn't expect her to say that, you know. Moms don't normally call their sons clowns, you know. There's better words than that, you know, she could have said, you know. So it kind of just caught me off guard. Hey, Mom, you gonna do that to me on camera? But it was funny.
Now, this one might seem a little silly, but trust me, this was a real thing back in the day. Many people strongly suspected that the high flyer Shannon Brown was brothers with R&B singer Chris Brown. I specifically remember this storyline, or whatever you want to call it, being a pretty big deal around 2009-2010, or at least it seemed like it. These 2 were always confused for one another, and for obvious reasons. Not only did they share the same last name, but they also shared a striking resemblance as well.
We don't all look alike.
It's one thing that they kind of look like each other, but when we added in the fact that they have the same last name, it was game over at that point. Rumors were spreading everywhere that these 2 were related.
Now here in LA, there are tons of celebrities, and for some reason everybody confused you with the singer Chris Brown. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, all the time. You know, when I met him, man, he said the same thing, that everybody, you know, say we look like each other. So, you know, that's kind of funny.
You know, when you walked in here today, people thought you were Chris Brown. Does that still happen?
All the time.
Also, did you know that Shannon Brown can actually dance? I mean, he said it himself.
You sing?
I can't sing. I can dance a little bit, though.
Can we see something?
No, not at all. We can make that happen, though.
And you probably already knew that Chris Brown has some skills when it comes to basketball. So what are the odds that they can somewhat do what the other can to a certain extent? Sounds like brothers to me.
Stupid.
But we all knew deep down at the end of the day that that narrative was all just for fun and that they were in no way actually related. Even Chris Brown himself started to become annoyed by the whole thing.
Some exciting play.
But you still gotta admit that the resemblance between them is uncanny. Well, at least it was back in the day. Now here's a little fun fact that I discovered while researching. Did you know that Shannon Brown's dad's name is actually Chris, making his full name Chris Brown? That's an interesting coincidence if you ask me. I don't know about you guys, but I will never understand why some players like Stephen Clay look at the ball after the release. How does watching the ball in the air gonna help you in any way? I've always thought this was kinda strange, and I can't imagine it would even make a difference. I feel like it would throw me off more than anything. I mean, just think about it. You wouldn't stare at an axe or a dart on its way there. You would look at the target, just like you would look at your opponent while boxing. You wouldn't look at your arm or hand while throwing a punch, would you? But I get it, the world doesn't revolve around me. Who am I to criticize the greatest shooting backcourt of all time? It seems to be working for them just fine. No offense to anybody who does look at the ball after the release. All I'm saying is, I don't think it would ever work for me personally.
And when you shoot, do you look at the rim the whole time or do you look at the ball as it's going? Kevin Love and Dirk, when they shoot it, they don't see the rim, then when they let it go, they look at the ball.
Feel free to comment down below whether you're a ball watcher or a rim watcher like me.
What do you mean by that?